these characters, and if you just give him those characters and are able to keep him alive with the likes of Tom Kench, and there we see Tom Kench is the first band right out the gate. You don't get to play that heavy.
No, immediately going to go ahead and go straight for those target bans. And, another thing to talk about, Tom Kench was such a huge part of the last series that we saw in the LJL, but Utapon doesn't play it, or at least he hasn't played it during the course of the regular season. So I think that's going to be an easy ban for him, as well as that Syndra does not want to give Ramune his preferred champion, just going to target those right away.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to see him play a little bit more Syndra, but by the way that Detonation's coming out of the gates just swinging with that, I'm not sure we're going to be able to do that. We'll have to see what their last ban is. There's a lot of different things that you could potentially ban away based on how you're playing, and it is going to be Dar's Malzahar. Now, that's something we also saw banned in the last time that they played, as well as the series that we just saw earlier in the season. Dara has a great Malzahar going 4-0 on the season with that, 4.9 KDA, because he's able to lock down things. And when you have a button, you say, no, you can't do anything. You're just going to take damage from my ADC. It's a great tool to have.
Yeah, and we are going to see that Lulu ban leaving Ivern available, as well as that Camille pick, which DFM will happily lock in. Very strong champion, traditionally, ever since her release. They're going to be happy to pick that one up.
And interestingly, like you said, Ivern is still available in this draft, but none of the players in this game really have a strong Ivern that we've seen a whole lot of throughout the season. I don't believe Tussle nor Paz have more than perhaps a game apiece on this champion in competitive scene. So, unlike last series where it was such an important pickup to have to deny from Neo, we're just going to see it come through, and I don't think we're going to see it picked up, especially as Tussle's been hovering over this Graves, a champion he did not get to play at all on Wednesday. He's going to very likely pick this up and potentially have, the second threat available. But I'm wrong. He's going to go back to the least the fifth time he's picked it in the playoffs this season.
Yeah. And something that there's definitely something to be said about Elise's strength in pick potential. Having locked in both Nautilus and Elise, it's very easy to secure vision around objectives and then just catch, a member of DFM that's warding or trying to scout them out, get an easy quick kill there, and then transition that into a lead. That's probably what they're going to go for. Meanwhile, DFM goes ahead and picks up the top lane Gragas for Utapon.
Are you sure it's
Really
the top lane
strong.
Gragas?
Oh, you right. I'm
Where's the
mistaken.
Now that's very dangerous. We talked a lot about the flex picks a little bit because the flex picks being able to move those champions around. Gragas can be played in the top lane, he can be played in the jungle, and every now and then we see him make a play as support, but the Camille can very easily be played either in the top lane or as a support. Now it's interesting, we do see the Varus getting picked up for Detonation, and this is something that has been a very interesting champion over the season, just watching the different ways he can build. During the match we saw a couple days ago, Varus was generally built for team fighting. We saw the Blade of the Ruin King, with the Blade of the Ruin King and the Ruin's Hurricane just being able to put down a lot of damage and doing a great job with that. But previously, we saw a lot of lethality builds going for the piercing arrow damage as you just build up so much armor pen. But we do see the Lucian picked up for Yutori. That was one of his comfort champions. And it's a little interesting that Saros was hovering Lucian before they ended up deciding on Varus. It almost sounds like a little bit of a bait.
Yeah, definitely going to be that case here. And now both teams looking to put some pressure on their mid laners. Going to try and ban some of the mid lane champions that they don't want to see. Echo being banned for RPG, and DFM going to go ahead and take away the Talon from Ramune, try and scrunch him down even more. Now, it's interesting because DFM, their mid laner Saros plays a ton of champions. RPG a little bit more limited. I'm kind of curious what this is going to force him down to with both Syndra and Talon taken away from him.
Yeah, that's true. In the times that these guys have played throughout the season, Ramune has 4 games on Oriana of the 5 games that they played each other, and the last one was on Syndra, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that Oriana ban. It's actually going to be his Talia, so we're probably going to see an Oriana pickup for Yutori, because I'm not sure what else he would play if he doesn't have any of the champions that are banned out available to him. He has a couple of games on Ari that he's done decently well with, but it looks like he's just going to step back, play that Oriana, and his Oriana throughout the season has been Okay. His Oriana has been solid because it can protect Yutori, but it's not something he's necessarily carried with. And a character like that has such strong carry potential due to the presence of the Shockwave, it's not the most impressive thing I've seen come out of him. But this is the playoffs. This is when everybody's going to be bringing things to their fullest potential. So I'm really hoping to see him make me eat my words.
Right, absolutely, Josh. And over on DFM is Zillion Hover, and that will be a lock-in. I still have yet to see if that's going to be a mid lane Zillion or a support Zillion, but I think that I like the pick in the context of this game in any case. Uh, RPG has a lot of sort of single target damage. Oriana does some AoE, but for the most part, at least this far into their draft, they're looking to single out a single target and burst them down really quick and then take an advantage from there. If DFM makes use of the Zillion ultimate well, they'll just be able to pick that person right back up and prevent the advantage from happening. And it does look like that's going to be a mid lane uh, Zillion as they lock in the Shen as their final pick.
Yeah, and I have to say I'm a really big fan of the way that Detonation Focus Me has drafted this pick ban phase. They have both the Zillion and the Shen to just create so much survivability on a single champion that they want to, and it's going to be the Camille for Vivid down there in the bot lane. But between all of this, they have good lockdown available. They have the initiation available from both Camille jumping over walls as well as the Gragas with the explosive cask, and they'll just be able to move around. But then it's also going to be very hard to kill their team. There's
Right.
not that much burst damage available to Rampage. You get a little bit from the Elise, you have some from the Orion, you have a little bit from Brand and Lucian, but if they all use that little bit of burst that they have to burst down a single target, you're not going to be able to kill anybody else because their damage is decently split between sustained and burst, but when you have both a Shen and a Zillion and Gragas, who, if you know me at all, you just know how much I love that champion. And by love, I mean hate, because he does not die.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, one thing to talk about though is, we talked about in the pregame, we sort of expected Detonation Focus Me to bring what we call a three-threat comp to have three big major damage dealers. Their team doesn't really have that this game. They've got a ton of tankiness in both Gragas and Shen. Uh, but with Camille relegated to the support role, she's not going to have as much items to build up the sort of damage that we expect to see out of her. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so I I wonder, if Rampage is able to pick a fight where they're able to survive and dive past those tanks, they might see more success in a straight 5-on-5 team fight against Detonation Focus Me. We'll have to see though as we get a game.
Yeah, absolutely. And there we go. Once again, we saw this fantastic graphic coming out last time they were playing. Just, a beautiful view of the fantastic job that Riot did with the Summoner's Rift update. I believe that's almost 2 seasons ago. But here we go. We're getting into Game 1 between Detonation Focus Me and Rampage in the LJL Season Finals. Thank you for joining us.
Oh man. So I don't expect anything too crazy to happen out of these games, at least at the level one. Looks
Wait,
like Vivid just gonna.
are you saying the triple Regu beat on Shen isn't crazy enough for you? I
I
love
mean,
I love that build coming out of Shen because it gives you so much what's it called? Health regeneration just over the the entire laning phase. You'll just sit there and that'll easily give him 500 to 1,000 health back over the laning phase that he can just use to push down Nautilus, who does sustain damage. He's not going to be able to burst that out, and unless Nautilus goes for a couple of very favorable trades towards the early game, Utapon's just going to be able to sit there and be very happy, just kind of laughing as he just builds up more and more health.
yeah, and it's interesting because we haven't seen a build like that recently. Really, I can't remember the last time I've seen a Shen go triple Reju bead, but it makes a lot of sense in the
Uh-oh.
context of what he's going to build this game. Oh,
Yeah.
Sarah's going in, just get harass.
This gets a little bit. He was looking for a couple of. Uh oh, Viv going in very early. He's getting a lot of damage down. He's going to take a lot of damage in return, and it's going to be alright. Dara and Mayashi are going to be able to pop back up and get a lot of it back, but I think Vivid's going to win that trade with the Relic Shield Sustain coming out in just a moment.
Yeah, I like sort of the early move from Saros. Zillion doesn't do a whole lot of damage to help leash for his jungler, so you just get some vision on Elise, kind of keeps track of them. I can respect that play. But going back to the top lane, Utapon also, you think about what she wants to build in this matchup. You know that he's going to be building that Titanic Hydra, which uses those rejuvenation beads, and he's probably going to build some other stuff as well, um, like maybe like a redemption or something. So it's definitely a worthwhile pickup for him.
Yeah, absolutely. But here we go. We're seeing nothing too unique coming out of these junglers right now. They're both moving towards the bottom half of the map. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a fight over the Scuttle Crab right now, but it's definitely going to be in favor of Rampage over the next couple of seconds because they've taken so much damage on the part of Detonation. But here it comes Paz. He's looking for the first gank of the game, and there goes the incoming ping. He jumps forward, gets a stun onto Dara, taking a lot of damage. Heal's already committed, but Vivid is almost taken down. Here comes a flash shot at Paz, and Dara should be able to get out alright, but Utori might not be able to do the same thing. He still does not have his flash available, but here comes first blood. He's going to take it onto Varus, and Paz is stunned up. He's not going to be able to get too close. He does finally commit the body slam and take him out. That is going to be a one-for-one trade, but that is going to be the first blood going over to Utar, and here comes Tussle. He's not going to let them get away with that. He's coming around. They don't see him yet. Here comes the stun out. That's going to be the second kill going over, the double assist going over to both Utar and Dara, and Vivid's not safe either. He still has his flash available, but Tussle's going to just back out and start pushing this wave back in.
Yeah, a sort of disastrous gank gone wrong for DFM. They thought that they would have the advantage, but Yutora Miyasi just playing a little bit better, able to pick up the first
Look
blood
at that
on Zeros.
percentage go. Rampage seeing a lot of fans, and especially as the Twitterverse lights up after that big play, picking up a 66% voting on Twitter.
Wow.
That's some dedication from your fans, just watching out for you. But that was fantastically played in the bottom lane, getting so much advantage. They're already at nearly 1,000 gold lead, and it's only 4 minutes in the game.
Yeah, and you have to imagine a lot of that comes from that early first blood gold, but that's definitely it's tough to play at this level, and to see like you're even just the first play of the game that you try to make go wrong is definitely unnerving. I'm hopeful that RPG can pull it out and be resilient, or excuse me, DFM can be resilient, not feel too bad about that, and continue to play at the top level.
Yeah, the interesting thing that we see right now is the flashes that are available or not available for both teams right now. Vivid is the only player in the bottom lane with that flash available, but Paz does not. Tussle knows this, and he's going in, blows up that blast cone, potentially sacrificing the kill, but he's going to come out. Paz sees the ward come out, but I think that's going to be just about it as Saras is starting to head down towards the bottom half of the map.
Yeah, not a whole lot, just scouting each other out. Tussle doesn't really have a whole lot to do. Oh, we'll get the wolf. Nicely done.
Yeah. Ooh, Dara's doing a lot of damage. He's already stacked up that Stealth Thieves enough times. I'm sure he's got a bit of a gold lead over Vivid by now, but every single Pillar of Flame has been hitting onto both Zeros and Vivid. There he goes, gets a stun onto Vivid. He still has a flash available, but that's a lot of damage, and that is going to be it as the burst comes out. That is going to be another kill going over to the bot lane of Rampage. And that is absolutely big. We see Romney taking a little bit of harass here in the middle lane. And Tussel's going to start moving around in the top side of the jungle. It appears I have lost my co-caster temporarily, but he should be back in just a couple of minutes as we're seeing a lot more movement around the map. And this is interesting. Even with the triple Reggie beard, Utapon is starting to lose a lot of CS to his lane opponent as Evie's able to just pick up so much here around the sides. And with the strength of his bot lane and his mid lane already, that could very easily be translated into something very impactful.
We back, friend. It is worth noting that Utapon has hit that level 6, does have access to Stand United. Will look to use that as quickly as possible, hopefully to mitigate the damage done in his bottom lane.
Mm-hmm. And Paz just did something very smart there that you don't necessarily see very often in solo queue. He chose not to kill the ward. Now that's something that a lot of people don't necessarily realize is when you use the control wards on those regular wards, the wards don't work. You can just stand on top of them, and as long as you aren't hitting them, nobody will know you're there. And by doing that, he denies some information onto Rampage, and hopefully he'll be able to translate that into something more useful. Here we go. Teleport being committed to Evie, telegraphing that they are not necessarily planning on going for the Ocean Drake anytime soon.
Yeah. Uh, Evie going to go ahead and I think that his main goal at this point in the game is to just he's gone for the double Dorn's ring to get the mana sustain. What he wants to do is he wants to shove in Utapon as much as possible to punish any possible stand united plays he wants to make.
Mm-hmm.
By just going for the double Dorn's ring, he's going to regen a lot of mana, use those AoE abilities that Nautilus has to farm up as quickly as possible and prevent Utapon from having the impact that he wants to have.
Yeah, that'll be really big if he's able to do that. Evie, as we've seen, has been very impactful in these tank champions, but isn't necessarily known for his ability to hard carry the games. But if he can, a lot like Nunu back when Nunu was very popular, he's not necessarily the most useful champion on his own, though he does get a lot of mileage out of the Blood Boil and the Snowball. But what he does is he makes the other jungler pretty useless. And if you can keep Shen down and stay miles ahead as Nautilus, it doesn't matter if Shen's going to be giving that shield to someone. You're just going to slowly beat them down with the dredge line, with the death charge, and just ignore all of that. But right now we're just going to stabilize a bit of a 2,000 gold lead on behalf of Rampage, and we're starting to see some items come out for all of our different laners.
Yeah, it looks like Yutori Miyasi going to go for that Blade of the Rune King first build on Lucian that we've seen. I especially like this pickup against the tank-heavy composition of DFM. They have a lot of frontline members who are going to be building at least some amount of health, being able to chip through that with the Poachwater Cutlass and eventually the Blade of the Rune King is definitely a good pickup for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see Tussle once again here. This could be a little bit more dangerous. Yutori is getting a lot of damage down to Zeros. He still has both of his summoners available, but that is likely going to force him out of lane, especially with Tussle being able to move around, potentially get down and escape with the repel, but looks like he's got different ideas. Zeros is in the mid lane with that teleport. Paz is now visible on the map, and they have a lot of different options available to them with that gold lead. And, Vivid getting a little bit of damage, missing the piercing arrow coming up, but there's a lot of options available to Rampage right now.
Yeah. And they don't necessarily have to act on them, right? They've got a solid lead.
The Hextech Ultimatum is going to come down. The Pillar of Flame misses. Yutori's taking a lot of damage. He has his flash available, but he can't leave yet. Paz misses the Body Slam flash, but it's okay. You're getting a couple of summoners out of the Rampage bot lane, and that means he can come back very soon.
Yeah, really
Shockwave committed in the mid lane. Muramune is going hard onto Sarah's getting the Thunderlord's proc right now, but I don't think we're going to see too much. Tussle's going to come around the side, hopefully get the cocoon. He does hit it, but with the ultimate coming out of Zillion, that's all they're going to be able to get.
Yeah, it's still definitely a solid play out of RPG. They do get priority and some pressure on this mid lane turret, and also, making plays in the bot lane match. But here comes Paz.
Yeah, Paz is going to be backing away. He sees that ward go down, and they're going to spot him out and not necessarily do anything with it. A gank at this level of play isn't necessarily very successful if you can be ready for it, and that's exactly what Rampage are. Teleport coming out from Sarah is not going to want to lose too much of that CS, and we're seeing large CS leads coming out of all of Rampage's lanes right now.
Yeah, really making the aggression work for them, and now looking to make that Ocean Drake. They know that the bottom lane Zeros was forced sort of to farm under the turret, so RPG should be able to pick up this first Drake of the game pretty quickly. Will give them some increased health regeneration, which is definitely helpful against the likes of Zeros' piercing arrow poke damage.
Yeah, absolutely, and we don't see a whole lot in the way of siege potential coming out from Rampage. They're going to want to engage more, but when your primary poke is coming out from Dara's Brand and Ramune's Orianna, it's not going to do as much as Zillion hucking bombs or piercing arrows coming out of Zerost.
Yeah, so it's really nice to have that sort of first dragon protection, especially, if you have the opportunity to take the dragon, it's not an Infernal, why not take it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Further cement your lead.
Yeah, we've been holding steady at this 2,000 gold lead for the past couple of minutes, and while that's great, Rampage are still going to hit their item spikes just a little bit earlier than Detonation. Hopefully, be able to translate that into some big fights here in the early games, as we wait for potential objectives to become back available. But first Tower Blood is still available for everyone, and that's something we're likely going to see become pressured very soon.
Yeah, this first back timing for bot lane, well, I guess the second back timing for bot lane is going to be really important. If you look over the items between these two laners. We see Utori Miyasi has already completed his first shot in the game with that
Uh-oh.
Blade of the Rune King.
Paz doesn't realize he's spotted out this gank. He's going to have to wait a long time if he wants it to be useful at all. He's probably just going to end up backing one of the bushes here as they wait for Utori and Dara to return to pushing.
Yeah, he's been putting a lot of focus on this lane because he knows that after that sort of first failed gank that Zerost and Vivid definitely need the help. But he's just not being able to find the opportunities that he needs to.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Tussle and Utori and Dara all being able to respond pretty well to the way that they're moving on. Another shockwave came out from Ramne going in on Saros. He does have his ultimate available again, but if you can put him at low health and force him to ult himself in the upcoming fight that is inevitably going to happen after that kind of play. Here comes Viv coming with the Hextech ultimatum. He's got Shen with him. They're doing a lot of damage. They got a ton of top under tower, but they're not going to be able to finish it. He's still alive. He does end up going down, but that is one kill traded back. As Camille goes down, there comes the ultimate coming out of Saros onto Utapon, but he's all by himself getting chased down by a spider. The little old man is going to be able to run away successfully. They're trying to turn back on Utapon. He taunts over the wall, and there aren't any flashes available or willing to be committed by Rampage, but a one-for-one trade is going to be all right. Dara flashes forward, gets a stun onto Paz, a lot of damage. The explosive cask is going to be able to save him. Tussle is going to take a lot of tower shots, does end up going down. Dara is already dead, but Evie's around the side. He's still looking for more, and this fight just keeps going, but Utori is doing Utori things. Is going to take the bot turret as well.
Yeah, definitely a chaotic fight between both teams trying to secure an advantage. You have to worry, at the highest level of play, everything's on the line with this between these two teams. Maybe not the cleanest fights we've seen. Utori able to pick an advantage. Let's watch that again. So Vivid goes in huge with the Stand United. Really aggressive play. However, Ramane flashes behind the turret, and that forces them into a turret dive that they didn't want to take. And then from here, it just gets more and more messy. Utapon gets saved by the Zillion ultimate. Will survive for a little while longer. Does end up having to burn his flash. Nice taunt gets him out of the way. But then we see Dara sees the opportunity on Paz, gets the flash stun to take the kill. A great task will trade with Tussle. And all the while, Utori is just gathering farm in the bot, taking that bot turret.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see Evie, he's in a good spot right now. He's not going to be able to pick up that hook onto Paz, but overall, the gold lead did extend somewhat for Rampage throughout that fight. They did trade kills, and now there's a little bit extra gold onto Saros and Zeros, which are not the players you want to have that extra gold in their pocket as they go forward, as they're two very strong carries. But the extra gold, the extra kill amount of gold going onto Utori, as well as the tower gold now being traded back, but traded still in the favor of Rampage, they're going to have this great lead as they start to move forward with the next dragon spawning in just a minute and a half. We're going to have to see these huge item breakpoints that are starting to come out for Rampage.
Yeah, and we just saw a really smart escalation of the lead there. Rampage, because they got the first bottom turret, they were able to send Utori back before Zerost got back, and because of that, they take the second turret ahead of time and are able to pressure the secondary turret, forcing Zerost and Vivid back again to try and defend this.
Yeah, and right now, Evie's fighting a little bit with Utapon on the opposite side of the map. He doesn't have the Stand United. The Explosive Cask is just going to be there to try and save the turret, because you don't want to give that map pressure over to your opposing team already. But here comes Vivid once again. Hextech ultimatum issue to Dara. He gets stunned up. He gets snared up. He gets stunned up once again. And he's got nowhere to run as the Fire Mage does go down. They still have most of their ultimates still available. Evie's looking to find Paz here. They don't want to give up too much for this dragon for free. It's just a little bit of poke, because they're going to have to return back to the mid lane. And this is where the lack of wave clear on the part of Rampage could potentially come to hurt them. They don't have a good way to clear this up. Evie's on the side, fighting with Vivid. I don't know how long he's going to be able to do that. Is going to get taunted up. No, he's not. Each one chooses not to commit it, but decent damage going on right now as they're starting to trade. There's not a lot of ultimates necessarily left for Detonation Focus Me, and they did wait long enough for Dara to come back. With the dragon spawning in 5 seconds, they might have taken too long.
Yeah. I want to talk about DFM. It seems like they've definitely played with this composition before. Once again, using the power of the Hextech ultimatum on top of the Stand United from Shen to really single out a target and just absolutely murder them. This isn't something that we talked about in the pregame, but seems like a really strong strategy going forward. as both as Rampage looks to take this Cloud Drake.
Yeah, and the Cloud Drake is not necessarily that great in solo queue, but in this level of gameplay, it's a huge boon to you. Being able to move around, and especially with the lack of wave clear and the siege potential that they have, being able to get to objectives first and take them down quickly is going to be a fantastic thing for Rampage as they move forward.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how fights sort of develop now that each team is starting to get some of their preliminary items. Ramune just finished that first Merlinomicon, um, possibly debating between either going for the Leandry's route to get the maximum amount of damage onto the maximum number of players on DFM, or potentially that Luton's Echo to really burst down a single target. I I don't know how these fights are going to turn out. I mean, we talked about how DFM really has to pick and burst their targets carefully because with a three tank composition, they just don't have sort of the damage to win an extended fight as long as RPG can stay alive.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh-oh. We are starting to see it come back again, but there's so much wave clear in the part of Detonation. It's going to be difficult to do a whole lot here, and especially with Utapone still up in the top lane. Stand United not available yet, but he does have to teleport. They're going to have to find a way to take the objectives that don't just involve running it up mid.
Yeah, one strategy that RPG could employ here is if they can reach a point where Evie can shove Utapon in so that he has to really consider whether or not it's worth the teleport. That could be one way to maybe open up this mid lane. Either that, or they're just going to have to wait for a pick, or wait until the next major objective comes up, such as that Baron spawning in 1 minute.
Yeah, absolutely. And one other option that we hadn't mentioned yet was we often see this, especially at the higher levels of play, is when there's a global on the other team that you need to deal with. You don't let the global stay off on the side. You go to the global. You prevent him from teleporting. You take his abilities. You keep him down. Then it doesn't matter if he joins the fight later on. You can just either continue to kill him or just kind of ignore him when he gets there. And Shen doesn't necessarily have that much damage in the first place. Vivid's going on to Dar. He does issue the Hextech ultimatum, but I'm not sure this is something he really wants to do. The Shen ultimate, Stand United is committed. Vivid is forced to flash out. Dar is forced back into the enemy team, and he is stunned up. That is going to be the kill going over to Zeros there. But
yeah, a bit of a messy start, but DFM will be happy to pick up the player advantage and will transition that likely into a mid lane turret take. Doesn't look like Rampage is going to be here quite in time.
they're gonna be able to clear most of it up. But Ramune was down in the bot lane that entire time, getting up a little bit of farm on his opponent, but ultimately not worthwhile when you take so much damage on both your mid turret and on your support. Enough damage to kill your support even.
Yeah. And I mean, still though, things still looking okay for Rampage. They do have a 3K gold lead, still holding steady onto that. Have to worry though, they're due to the short range nature of their abilities, sieging past these tier 1 outer turrets. Like once they take down the tier 1 mid turret, I'm not so sure how they're going to continue to increase their advantage
Oh no, the
against the
blue
wave
buff
there.
reset. They're gonna have to start it over. That's heartbreaking.
That
That's
feels bad.
Saros is sitting with no mana, and if Rampage was in a good spot, that could be the prime time that they needed to go back and take it. Saros is gonna roam back and pick it up. Good guy Paz just holding it there for him for as long as he needs. And this time they're careful not to let it reset.
Yeah. And here you can see, sometimes even in professional play, nerves get the best of you, or little things like this sort of slip by. Normally not a big deal. Fortunately for DFM, Rampage wasn't immediately pressuring the mid lane at the same time that Saros was trying to get that blue buff. Um, should
Yeah,
be okay.
it should be alright. And we are starting to see Vivid getting some good engages on this game so far. He's already picked up Dara at least once. He jumped down into Ramne, and that's how all these fights have been starting, and how DFM has started to even up the kill count. But it's not going to necessarily be enough long term if they keep doing that, especially as the damage on Lucian, the burst potential by Ramne and Yutori starts to grow. He's going to need to be able to find less ambitious picks, shall we say.
Yeah, and it's going to get harder and harder for him to dive in there by himself, right? As long as they can, if they can coordinate the ultimate with Utapon, mostly okay. But because it's a support and he's going to have less items maybe than you would expect a normal top lane Camille to have, you have to be really careful about what you can and can't jump into on that
Absolutely.
champion.
And here we're seeing with the next dragon coming up in about 50 seconds, we're going to see teams returning to this mid lane, running it down mid, perhaps a bit too much, a little bit of damage getting traded back and forth. Ooh, save the ward. They do end up saving it, but here comes Evie. He's coming down. Stand United is available for Utapon, and leaving him there to farm by himself might not be the best idea. Good damage going down onto Evie. Actually blocked up by his shields for the most part. But we're going to have to see a little bit more setup from Rampage. They seem a little overly content to just sit down mid. Uh-oh. Calling does come out. Vivid hops the wall, and that's going to be the end of that. 10 seconds left on the dragon. We're going to see Vivid do something either very smart or very stupid in the next couple of seconds as he tries to get an engage on.
Yeah, with Utapon pressuring the top lane, they really have to make a decisive play here, or else they're just going to lose nothing. This is an Infernal Dragon, so it is a big pickup for them if they can secure it.
Evian to Vivid, he's getting a good amount of damage. Stand United hasn't come out yet. Shockwave is taking down that support very low, but he's going to be able to walk out. Death Charge goes down onto Zero, so the Explosive Cask should be able to keep them safe. Stand United is still available, and we see Utapon looking for it. Utori being very aggressive like he normally is, moving towards them, and this is not a fight that they necessarily take. Avi gets another Dredge line onto Paz. He's re-stunned up, forced to flash out. Utapon is still up in the top lane, and this is going to be not only the Infernal Drake, but the middle turret getting traded for just the top turret. This could be a lot more as they start to move down the mid lane. No, they're going to choose to return back to whatever it was they were doing before as Utapon finally equalizes the top lane turret.
Yeah, definitely overall win for Rampage. I'm a little curious why DFM didn't feel that it was possible for them to pull the trigger there. They have the Stand United ultimate available to them. They could have potentially turned that fight around, but instead wanted to play it passive, wanted to play it safe, continue to scale up, take the top lane turret in exchange for the Infernal Drake. We'll have to see if that bites them or not.
Yeah, and perhaps a little too safe. They did end up losing several summoners for that. Crucially, Zeros does not have his flash anymore, and he still does have the Stand United and the Chrono Break, Chrono Rewind, whatever Zillion's ultimate is. He's going to have a lot of survivability built in that way, but if you can save that for someone who's going to live a lot longer, it's generally a little more worthwhile. If he tries to get the Dread line, does not match it with a Vivid's dash away, so he's going to be okay. We're still seeing a 3k gold lead up for Rampage right now, but with the Dragons starting to build up, Focus Me is going to have to find a real way to try and get back into the lead and in the driver's seat of this game.
It's difficult for them at this point because Rampage has been playing very well on a macro level of this game. They grabbed a couple early advantages. Ooh, great dodge from Saros. Keeps him safe from Tussel's Cocoon.
Calling goes on to Zeros. A lot of damage going down onto him. Vivid is going to block a little bit for that. But Evie is around the back. This we're talking about. Zeros doesn't have any flash. He's stunned up. He's taking so much damage in the middle. He does get the ultimate from Zillion, but here comes the damage back. Utori's jumped on by Vivid, and Utapon's on the other side. Utori does pick that up onto the support, but there's a lot of trades going back and forth. Tussle ends up going down. Paz and Saros are fighting Evie right underneath the turret. Saros doesn't have ultimate. He does go down. Paz has nothing left either, and he's going down. Utapon is trying to find one more into Ramne before Utori and Evie can come back, but that is a 4 for 2 going over to Rampage, and this is the second middle turret, and that was disastrous.
What a fantastic TP from Evie, able to sneak around the back line, force a fight when Zeros and DFM were in a place of weakness. They didn't have their flashes available for the start of that fight. They played that wonderfully, and they'll be able to reward themselves with an inhibitor afterwards.
Well, it doesn't look like they're going to quite get the inhibitors. They're going to choose to back away. And I really hope we get a replay of that, because I want to take a look at what was going on the other side, because I know Dara and Utapon are fighting each other. But Dara still has his flash up. Utapon doesn't, and I'm not sure that that was the greatest use of his time. But here we go. They're going to grace us with it.
Yeah, so here we see, DFM pushing up. They really want to take this turret. Don't quite get it. Utori lands a lot of damage onto Zeros as the TP comes in from the back line. The Stand United isn't quite enough. They have to burn the Stand United, Saros' ultimate, and just so many resources trying to keep Zeros alive, and it's not quite enough. Meanwhile, Mitori Miyasi sneaks around the side, is able to clean up the kills on Zeros, Kaz, as well as one other person.
Saros, right? But we
Yeah,
did
yeah.
see it. Utapon is at a point where he is strong enough to start 1v2ing some of the backline. We saw him fighting both Romney and Dara there. He got one of them down, but Shen doesn't do that much damage. And so that potential tankiness that he could have provided to the rest of the team, he did get a great W, blocking a lot of auto attacks onto Zeros and Saros towards the beginning of the fight. But they lost it towards the latter half of the fight, and that tankiness preventing Yutori from jumping onto Saros without his ultimate potentially ended up. Uh-oh, here comes Vivid, gets a stun onto Tussle one more time. Does not issue the Hextech ultimatum yet. Doesn't do it. The taunt does land onto Tussle as Utapon comes along the side. Uh-oh, Romney with the shockwave, but the ultimatum's not going to go onto Tussle. It's going to go onto Romney, and to the side, he's caught up in his own jungle. Turning around, Yutori's trying to get a little bit of damage, but this could be the Baron as they start to move forward. Utapon is so fast with that Zeal, and he gets a lot of damage. Yutori does finally go down. They trade it for Utapon's life, but that's going to be very well worth it as Tussle goes up into the air. He does the Guardian Angel. He's going to have to pop it. Oh, he does not. There's something going around him. But here we go. Evie and Dara are the only two left as they're going to have to contest this Baron at 28 minutes. Going to do a lot of damage. Dara does not have his ultimate available. He's just going to have to throw things over the side. And if they can stop this, it's absolutely worthwhile. They goes on to Saros. He doesn't have his ultimate. Vivid jumps around, misses the stun onto Dara. That's going to be big. There's a lot of damage going on to Paz and Saros in the mid lane now. There's no damage going on to Evie. He finally picks up Saros. He's going to go for Zeros as well. Dara's on the other side. He's still alive. Misses the dredge line. Evie is in a bad spot now. There is the red buff onto Zeros. But that was fantastic. They got a kill. They were able to get out. They stopped the Baron. Evie and Dara are both still alive. And that was just sloppy from Focus Me. They're going to have to pick that up.
Yeah, I mean, at first I was going to commend Dominate Focus Me because they did such a great job of making a decisive call. Vivid's target selection was incredible. First landing the stun on the Tussle to force him to run away, and then catching out Ramane with the isolation ultimate to secure a kill and an advantage. But they just didn't respect the amount of magic damage and just pure burn that Baron does. Now RPG going to look to punish the mistake by picking up another dragon.
Yeah, and that's huge. And the other thing they didn't respect was the fact that before that fight, Evie was 3-0-2. He is a very tanky undead sailor as he starts to move around with the Sunfire, the Spirit Visage, and now he's picking up the Knight's Vow, which I'm sure he's going to crown Yutori with, because, I mean, what else does Rampage do, right? But they're going to be moving around with so much tankiness, so much ability to engage. They finally did lose the CS advantage onto Evie, but he's okay with that. He's up 3 kills on his lane opponent. He'll still be able to bully him around whenever he feels like it.
Yeah, and, you know, the damage from Baron just really wrecked them there. A lot of people don't think about the armor and magic resist aura that Baron activates when you're doing damage to it. So even though Evie doesn't do a lot of damage by himself, just by sheer base values plus the Sunfire Cape was enough to be a huge threat that DFM just didn't really respect.
Yeah, here Tussle finds Paz getting a lot of damage, and Stand United is... Oh, but there they go. They're onto Yutori. He's not got anything to keep him alive. He's taking a lot of damage. He's staying alive a lot longer than you might expect. Dara and Tussle are going to have to get a little bit of damage back. They do stun up Vivid. Romney is going in. He still has the Shockwave available. He uses the Flash. Evie's on the backside taking a lot of damage from Zeros. He's not going to be able to get out, but they do trade it for Vivid's life. Oh, he does get out with a Dredge Line. Flash Stomp comes up from Utapon. And that could be the end of it. A 2-for-1 going over to Detonation Focus Me, but they're in no shape to contest if they couldn't do it last time.
Yeah, able to make the best of a sort of a messy situation there, are able to pick up both Yutori and Evie. Now looking to take this mid lane with their numbers advantage should be an easy pickup for them.
Look at how fast he is.
Yeah, that's definitely really scary with the speed boost from Saros on the tanks.
Shockwave onto Paz does force the ultimate out of Saros' Zillion. That could be it. They do manage to defend the second turret, and with no objectives really on the field other than that Baron, they're just going to be sitting around waiting for a little bit longer.
Yeah, I like that ultimate out of Ramane, just trying to save the turret as much as possible, even though You typically think that you want to save your shockwaves for more than one turret. It's a deterrence, and it saves the middle turret, prevents some gold from going over to Detonation focused me. They got to be feeling good about that.
Yeah, and here we go. We are starting to see more item breakpoints coming out. We were talking about the Leandres versus Ludens. Romane chose both, and here we go. Vivid does not have the Stand United to keep his decisions a little bit better. He goes on to both Romane and Utori, but they're out of the fight right now. There's only 3 members in this fight for Rampage as they're starting to turn back. Utori comes back, but he doesn't have a front line anymore. It's just Tussle, Romane, and Utori as they decide, hey, let's go into the jungler, see if we can prevent the Baron. Misses the taunt, but it's going to be okay. He's going to get out, and look at that W, so absorbing so many of the auto attacks coming out from Utori, and it should be enough. Vivid's looking for a little bit around the side, and when all is said and done, that's a 2 for 2, and that was a 3v5 for most of it for Rampage.
Yeah, DFM played pretty well. They had a bit of a weird positioning. Saros taking a ton of damage, was able to survive for a little bit longer with the Zillion ultimate, and that was enough. He also had a fantastic amount of AoE damage from the time bombs, really sort of catching Rampage off guard and picking up 2 kills through that.
And here we go again. We're going to see it exactly. Vivid managed to separate this fight absolutely fantastically. We see him go down onto Romney. They're taking a lot of damage, but the explosive cask from Paz means that there's just Dara, Evie, and Tussle on the other side, and 2 of them go down before Utori is really able to come back, and they start to get a little bit of damage here onto Paz. They do end up taking down Saros from the burn from Brand. As they start to move around, Paz does get out, but Utapone is not able to do the same. They're going to slowly grind him down with the massive sustained damage that comes coming out of Orianna and Lucian at this point of the game.
Yeah, DFM definitely did a really good job in that fight of splitting out RPG by threatening Ramane and Yutori Miyasi so they couldn't join the fight initially, and they had to deal with Vivid. Then being able to recollapse on the members of Rampage that were caught out, Dara and Evie, picking up 2 quick and easy kills that way, and sort of helping to mitigate the gold lead. It's still pretty significantly in RPG's favor. They're sitting on a 6k gold lead and a massive 4 dragons, but not a lost fight for DFM by any means.
Yeah, absolutely not. And we're starting to see, once again, the Guardian Angel race has already started, and right now Rampage is winning it. They already have 2 of them. We see 2 of them being worked on by Detonation, but it's going to be a little while before Shen and Grog are able to pick that up and match the Zillion ultimates. Who needs a Zillion when you can just buy your own?
That's very true, Josh. Let's see here. How does DFM want to proceed with this match? They would really like to find a team fight where Rampage is not so grouped up. If they can have another fight where they split off the carries, they get Ramane and Yutori Miyasi on opposite sides of the fight, and they're able to pick one and kill them quickly, that could be their way to secure a victory and potentially either a Baron or an inhibitor at this late in the game.
And we do see, it looks like we're going to get 5 regular dragons coming up this game, if I'm not mistaken. As it looks like we got 20 seconds until the next one as they start to come up. But we're starting to see another one of my favorite champions, Brand, picking up both of the Riley Andres, as we like to say. He's going to be doing a lot of damage for a support character. If we were to see the damage charts at the end of the game, but here we go. Rampage is going to start it up. They're already over the wall. It's already down to half. Vivid doesn't see it yet. He pops the pink ward. There he goes over the wall. Gets the Electric Ultimatum onto Vivid. The taunt is not going to be enough. They do end up taking down the Baron for Rampage. Dar is caught off on the wrong side. Utori's over the wall, getting the calling onto a lot of people. Dar is the first one to go down in this fight. Vivid might be next. Evie and Tussle are so tanky right now. They're not going down. Utori's by himself, looking so much damage, doing so aggressive. He finally gets Paz. The ultimate comes out. Utapone is the last member. Never mind, Saros on the other side. The taunt does come out. The time bomb's going to kill him. No, it's not. Tussle has the Guardian Angel. Doesn't matter what you do to him. He has his own Zillion already.
Wow. Just, wow. What a fantastic team fight from both teams. DFM was trying so hard to disrupt the Baron. RPG wins just by slivers of HP. We saw 3 members of the team brought in low between Utori, Tussle, and Evie. DFM just not quite able to find the kills that they needed to in order to secure that fight. And with that, RPG will further cement their lead all the way up to a 10,000 gold lead. And now they're pinging towards the Elder Baron. Elder Dragon, excuse me.
Yeah, but we gotta talk a little bit about two things. One, that's the power of four dragons coming out. That Infernal Drake, they hadn't been able to get that damage. The fight could have been very easily going the other way. They were, like you said, they're all alive with slivers of health. But the other thing is we gotta talk about Yutori Moyashi once again. We keep talking about how well he's doing, and then we keep seeing him surrounded by so many members of the other team, and it doesn't matter. He is still alive. He is still killing them, and once again, we saw this in the last time that we were watching Rampage play. We thought he was dead, but he was just like, nah, bruh, I got this.
Yeah. Really stellar play out of him, continuing to shot call and lead his team to victory. Now, if you're playing as Detonation Focus Me, you have to be worried. You have to be very cautious about fighting this team that has both the Elder Dragon and the Baron. They are going to succeed the Tier 2 turret. Will RPG be able to get more?
It's going to be difficult for them. Look at the damage they're already starting to crush down this inhibitor turret. They're going in. There's 2 Guardian Angels available for them. And like you said, with the double dragon, or excuse me, with the double major buffs, these people talk about these are the win conditions you need. If you get one of them, you can win the game. When you have both, it's going to be very scary for you to do anything. They're just going through. They got the 1 inhibitor. They got the 2 inhibitor. They're going to go up top. They're going to take the 3rd inhibitor with the Baron. Utapon pushed out the wave, which is a very good job. It's going to take them a lot longer to come down the mid lane. That's okay. Rampage is going to go pick up the blue buff onto Romney and then just go right back to pushing. It looks like they still have about a quarter of the Baron left and half of the Elder Dragon. So Rampage are not worried about this upcoming fight. They do have to be careful, though. That's not to mean they can't throw the game. Explosive Cast goes on to Evie, pushes in the wrong direction. Paz and Evie are already fighting the turret. Yutori's taking a lot of damage. I think he's taking up the turret, but there goes Evie. Vivid is in the middle of the enemy team taking a lot of damage. As the true damage coming out from the Elder Dragon's gonna take a lot. Yutori's around the back. Romney and Yutori are untouched. They're starting to get a lot of damage back in. Tussle goes back in, takes another, and Utapon is still alive. Paz on the backside takes the Piercing Light, does not take the Cocoon, but that's a 2 for 0 as they go in. They still have one of their Guardian Angels available. They take the 3rd inhibitor. Now all they have to do is wait. Utapon's gonna try and drag them out a little bit farther, but they're just gonna ignore him and go straight for the Nexus turrets. Here we go. Evie came back with a teleport. Utapon's around the back trying to get damage onto Dara. Doesn't matter. Romney. Ooh, Romney and Dara both go down. Saros on the backside is down as well. There's only one Nexus turret left alive. Tussle is going to be doing a lot. You can't hit Yutori. You can't be focusing down the tanks. That's not going to do you any good. There goes Paz. There goes the first Nexus turret. The second Nexus turret. Utapon's the last one alive. Are they going to try and give it over? They are going to give it over. That's got a Guardian Angel, guys. It's going to take a little while. They are starting to crush down this Nexus, and they're going to do it, and we already see Rampage clapping. Game 1 going to Rampage.
Yeah, what really decisive play out of Rampage